your smile on.
It's on. Do I go now?
You go now.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone, back to the Frost Advisory. We have an exciting topic to talk about today in our little series. We want to welcome folks that visited us for episode 1, and anybody that's out there that's new, we want to welcome you as well and remind folks that Mary Barbara, Hannah, and I, Ann Frost, come together to help folks out there who may be aspiring to be trainers or either tasked with the job of training in their organization. Our mission, if you will, is to help you create great trainings, to deliver those great trainings, and to deal with the challenges that arise when you're creating and delivering those great trainings. We're starting our inaugural series off with, they are actually, originally they came in the form of leadership, or in the format or structure of under leadership. But as Mary Barbara and I talked about these, we realized, we really can apply these 3 principles to a trainer or a facilitator. I mean, think about it. You're up there leading a conversation with folks over a period of time. Those 3 leadership differentiators, just to remind folks, is authenticity, which is what we talked about last week. This week, we're going to talk about how to bring out the best in others. And then our third one in this series will be the willingness to give and receive constructive feedback, which is harder for some than others. And by some, I mean me. So I'm going to turn it over real quick to Mary Barbara to let you hear some of her insights and experiences with how to bring out the best in others.
Well, thank you. Okay, thanks, Ann.
Yeah.
So first of all, as Ann has said, welcome everybody. It's great to be here on another spectacularly sunny day in West Virginia. And we've got in the background our friend Kay Jung, who is going to be helping us tech-wise get the word out about the Frost Advisory. If you know people that you think this would be great information for, please feel free to share it with them. You can contact us through our Facebook page, the Frost Advisory, and we can reach out to people. Our services are available internationally. Kay has international experience. Whatever this lady's name, Ann, and I have national experience. We've worked with a lot of different groups. So we are available to help you. Just even, what's the word I'm looking for, Ann?
Consult.
Thank you, consult.
Yeah, there we go.
For people who don't know me, I do have some memory issues sometimes, so pardon those things, those little snafus in the synapses, if you will. But anyway, so we're available for consulting. We're available to talk about your projects. We don't necessarily have to come to your place of work. We can work well over Zoom. So consider us for the future. And even if you just want to get together and talk a little bit to get to know us better off the air, as it were. So Ann, coming back to, the other thing I want to mention is, so Kay Jung told me that when we're working with Facebook Live, that I can tell you we're not really looking at the comments right now, but just a few minutes before we end our session today, we will go over and I can look at your comments or answer any questions and say hello to you. So feel free to post your questions anytime during the presentation, but I won't actually look at those until the very end. And then we'll get back to you with any comments or questions that you have. So there you go. All right, bring out the best in others. So, I often think that the conversations I have with people, the best conversations I have with people happen right before we go live, because that's when we're at our most relaxed, normal selves, and Ann and I were just having a great discussion about a meeting that we were in the other day. And the challenge that I was having during that meeting with a situation, and how I was able to stay calm and coach myself through the challenge that I was facing. It still didn't go my way. I still got turned down for the thing that I wanted, and I still left the meeting angry. Wah, wah. However, What I was thinking, Anne, is that bringing out the best in others means starting with ourselves. Back to that idea of being a leader, that we
Mhm.
really want to, in order to bring out the best in others, we have to know how to bring out the best in ourselves first. And I think that when you are a facilitator or an educator, a trainer, putting on that professional face. So even if behind the scenes, you know, you had a flat tire on the way to work, the whiteboard, the eraser isn't working, you're out of whiteboard markers, whatever the challenges are, you really have to put up a bit of a front so that people stay engaged. Because the minute you become an emotional, cyclone in the front of the room and
Mhm.
everybody else gets activated, as you like to say, and that can really put a damper on the training. So bringing out the best in yourself first, calling on your
Mhm.
professionalism, keeping your emotions to a minimum, even if you get activated, as Anne likes to say, coaching yourself out of that emotional turmoil to stay present so that you can address what's happening, like we talked about the feedback part. So for me, I think bringing out the best in others starts with just bringing out the best in yourself. What is good about you? Save your emotional falling apart for after the training when you're back in your car or home, um, and start there. So that's my 2 cents for the day. And I'll pull up the PowerPoint, Ann.
Sure.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, it made me think what you just described is that cliche, fake it till you make it. I mean, how,
Exactly.
and I'm thinking of a situation
I
not too
agree.
long ago where I had this opportunity to grow and develop as an individual, where a participant just really was pushing back and challenging me on, it wasn't anything fundamental. It wasn't like content or principle related. It was the logistics of the
Mm.
activity that I was trying to get folks engaged in. And I just kept getting pushback. And I, I mean, what you just described was what I went through. I just wanted to come across the desk, throw down my Sharpie marker. But it's like, okay, I don't have these very often, but when they do, it's like I thank the heavens above that I had the presence of mind to take a breath.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, calm down. You're going to be able to use this someday in a future training, which I have. And just fake it until, tick tock, this will be over soon. This person will be gone. But sometimes we're able to do that and sometimes we're not. I think for me, the biggest part, and I actually wrote down what you said, self-coaching
Hmm.
is just to, own it. Here's what's going on. Here's why maybe I'm reacting this way, and keep your sense of humor.
Yeah. Yes.
Because things like this are going to happen. And sometimes in the beginning, I can remember when I first started that things like this would really knock me out, just throw me for a loop. And it took me a long time to recover. And now I've got a network. Maybe that's another part of the self-coaching is to have a friend. And by friend, I mean Mary Barbara, that I can just, this is what happened. This is what I did. And, I've got a good listening ear to kind of remind me you are human. These are some things to think about for the next time.
I think it's a judgment-free zone also. Bringing out the best in others, if I can kind of leeway over into the slide, one
Yeah.
of the elements I think is a judgment-free zone. When people are acting out in a training for whatever the reason, it's too cold, they don't like the content, whatever the acting out is that you're getting from people, not judging them, which can be challenging, but allowing them that space to act out for a few minutes before you try to
Mm-hmm.
call on or bring out,
Mm-hmm.
what is great about their observation. And one way that we can do that, or that I have done that, is to thank them. Oh, thank you for letting me know. I'm so sorry it's cold in here. I'll make sure we take care of that. By thanking people, it helps, we've talked about the limbic system, not so much right here in the frost advisory. We will, but when your limbic system gets activated and is irritated, calming people down, that's the very first thing I think of when I think about bringing out the best in others, helping them calm down, acknowledging whatever their thing is. Go ahead.
Well, and to your point, I don't know that I've ever thanked this person, but I may have said something like, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is giving me something to think about, and believe
Mhm.
me, I'm going to think about it for the next week.
And talk about it and tell
Yeah, and
everybody else about
now
it.
I'm telling the world. Uh, uh, just I like that reminder. If you can't thank them, then just acknowledge that it's
Exactly.
maybe a contribution, because I sometimes I do turn into an egomaniac. It's not all about me and what the content. It's like, oh, I get it now. I just sometimes am slow to process things like that.
No, she isn't.
So
I think the challenge as a trainer is you are doing your job, I'm doing my job, and we're in the midst of doing our job, and someone is coming to our workstation and being critical.
yeah.
And so like anyone who's sitting at a desk, if a coworker or someone just shows up and suddenly starts questioning
Mhm.
why you're doing it the way you're doing it, we are all going to get defensive. Our
Mhm.
workplace is in front of an audience, and that's
Well, and combine
off-putting.
that with the fact that you put your heart and soul into putting that content
Yes.
together.
Yes.
It's like, what? You don't want to play my Jeopardy game? Oh, damn you. No. Can I
You
say that?
you sure can. Your hand Frost, who is going to take you down now?
I reckon.
This is the Frost advisory, and if you
It
say
is.
anyway, I
So
digress.
where were we? We're talking about bringing out the best in others.
Yes.
And just in preparation for this, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at my name is Ann, and I am a list maker.
Yes,
And
she
I
is.
sent Mary Barbara a list of just some things that I have done or want to do, intend to do, about how you can bring out the best in others. Because to me, when I hear that in a training environment, what it means to me is I'm helping them make connections to the content that we're sharing and how that's going to make their life easier,
Mhm.
whether it be at home, at work, outside, wherever they may be. So they have to feel like there's some ready application to the content that we've prepared and are sharing, and that it is going to make a difference in how they do things from that point forward. So I think once people get engaged, then it's easier to have them ask good questions or be highly participative or make those connections, figure out ways they can apply it. Your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I'm just listening and nodding. Yes, and you're right as always. No, you did make a list, and I thought that you might mention what was on your list, and then we would give some examples. So,
Well, I
um,
just did, yeah, I just did some brainstorming in no particular order. And I think the first one on the list, when you want to bring out the best in people, is you have to know who they are. You have to have a little
yes.
bit of information about, is it male or female? Are they in a supervisory position or more of a subordinate position? How long have they been there? What are they interested in at work? Knowing more about at work or even after work. What
Mm-hmm.
are some of their interests? Because that gives you an opportunity to find some commonality. Well,
Yes.
I forgot. It was a couple of the ladies in the training that we're currently doing. I discovered that their kids swim
Oh, right, right.
competitively. And it's like, man, that because all three of my kids did. And it's like, man, that was sort of an immediate connection because we could commiserate about a lot of things. We could revel in the fact that we've sucked up enough chlorine in natatoriums over the year that we are immune from COVID-19. What I'm operating on.
Oh, that's the secret.
That's it. So it's just that commonality, which, now I've got at least two participants that are going to be maybe that much more engaged than had I not made that discovery. So getting to know them, who they are, what they're looking for, as best you can, what their needs are personally and practically, um, that they want to get out of the content. Um, and as you're getting to know them, you're just in that sort of frames mindset of discovery. So you're looking for what their strengths are and how you can bring those into play. Maybe it's a table, maybe this person's sort of demonstrated they like to be in charge or be a leader of some sort. Well, the next time you have that table conversation, make that person the facilitator of that table.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
try to discover what some of their strengths and weaknesses are. Of course, give the folks constructive feedback as best you can. This is why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. This is how I can see an application to your situation. Do you think that would work? Or what's good about it? What's not so good? And kind of get a two-way conversation there, which is important. Challenge them and encourage them to challenge you, which, I mean, you are opening that door, but
Right.
I think it makes a difference I've noticed that the last 3 or 4 series of content, I've said that right up front. First,
Yeah.
as I said last week, I don't ever claim to be an expert. There's always something new to learn. But I'm highly enthused about whatever this topic is: engagement, retention, self-motivation, that kind of thing. And I have some soapbox issues I will be happy to get up on and be firm about those. But I'm also, because I'm not in your world, I'm not in the
Right.
world of the participants on a daily basis. So hearing their perspective about what I've got to say has helped me over the years. I think I learn as much from the folks around the room than they do from me, just because I'm getting another perspective. So
I
that
agree.
challenge is good.
I agree with you because first of all, I think people are happy to come in, especially adult learners. One of the things we'll talk about in these episodes, if you will, is the psychology of the adult learner. Every adult who's coming into our classroom is already an expert in something. It's not like teaching 8-year-olds or 15-year-olds who are still gaining experience. Every person comes into your room with a world of knowledge and experience and a vast array of experience. And they want Ann and I were just talking about being acknowledged before this session, and people want to be acknowledged for what they know, what their expertise is, things that they've accomplished, because they don't, I was a GED teacher, and one of the issues that I often ran into was people were very successful outside that classroom, but the minute they came into the classroom, they were right back in 9th grade. And they had all the same terror of being in a classroom as they did when they were in 9th grade and dropped out of school. And so getting them to talk about all the amazing things that they do now as adults, manage, run companies, manage offices, whatever, raise their children. I mean, all the things that people do on a daily basis. So in this case, when we're bringing out the best in others, as you're saying, getting to know people and offering them that opportunity to challenge us back and recognizing them as the experts. So I'll give you an example. As a GED teacher, I became a trainer for the state of Ohio. And oh man, this was the worst. I had to do trainings on Saturdays 4 times a year, once a quarter, for people, the new teacher orientation. And this was for anybody who became a state instructor for the GED system. It didn't matter if you had previous teaching experience. It didn't matter. You still had to come to new teacher orientation. So I would get people who had been middle school or grade school level teachers for 30 years.
Oh,
They were, oh man,
goodness.
so mad. A Saturday, they would always have to drive to Athens, Ohio. That's where in our area, that's where it was located. So some of them were driving up to 2 hours just to get to this training. And the training started at 9, so they had to leave at 7. Lunch was on their own, and it went till 2 or 3, and then they'd have to drive 2 hours home a whole Saturday. You can just imagine how angry.
Happy they were to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So many people were happy. So as you say, Ann, I would start talking and I would say to people, now look, if you know something about this, please jump in, please chime in, let me know what you've done. And sure enough, there was the lady who, first of all, she started complaining the minute she walked in the door. I shouldn't be here. I have 30 years of experience, da 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 da. And I'm like, hey, I am so glad you're here. I hope that with all your experience, I know you've got things that you can share. And so I can't even remember what the topic was that we were talking about, but I referred to her and I said, hey, I think you probably know a lot about this. What can you share with the group? And then I physically sat down. Now, she didn't stand up, but that physical act of
Yeah.
sitting down and turning the power over to her
Mm-hmm.
for those moments, she shone like the bright star she is, and it made her feel good. And then she
Mm-hmm.
calmed down the rest of the day. She was
Mm-hmm.
on my side,
Mm-hmm.
So I think offering the challenge, but then not being afraid to let the room get turned over to somebody for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It does take some experience, I would say, probably not for the new facilitator, but getting used to letting people have the power in the room and
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that they are the expert, as you've talked about. So, yeah, I'm with you about letting people. I've even changed my training midstream. You and I have talked about this with another group that we're
Mm-hmm.
training. The training material did not meet their needs at all. What I had written and what they needed, two different things. And so again, maybe not for the inexperienced facilitator, but as you gain confidence and you have many, many tools
Mm-hmm.
that you can call on and lots of data, being able to change midstream so that you are meeting their needs rather than being like, well, this is the material and we just have to go through it.
So I remember you sharing that with me, and then something similar happened for me where, and you were actually with me on that occasion, where it's like this particular, we can't talk about this for whatever reason. They had a
Right, right.
laundry list of reasons why it was going to be no good to talk about what it was. Well, the good news was as it turned for me anyway, was that on this particular session, after the basic, here's who we are and what we're going to do, and these are the logistics, I did a quick little brainstorm about what their burning issues were and, what was working, what was, needed some help or some improvement. So once I discovered that this content was not going to be working for them today, I just turned right to that list of burning issues. It's like, well, let's just take one of these because they were related to, like, in a broader sense of the overall content. So it's not like we were, you know, going to be talking about, fantasy
Irrelevant.
football
Yeah.
for the next 3 hours. It was related to, and that was one of the best sessions in terms of people being engaged,
Mm-hmm.
activated,
Mm-hmm.
coming up with thoughtful, good information, guidance, help. It was incredible. I felt like, so it's like that really, and sometimes I get, do we want to do burning issues every single time? Maybe, maybe not. I do try to do it more than I used to because it does sort of get the juices flowing and helps you be in discovery about what's important to them, what maybe their strengths are, where they feel like they need some help. So it's got a lot of applications that you can
I,
use it.
I agree. I think that burning issues too, it makes the training relevant. And
Yes.
when we want to bring out the best in others, that part of that is making the training relevant to what their needs are.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
as you're doing the icebreakers, as you're getting to know people, as you're, asking open-ended questions of people, giving them the chance to share. And so really, I feel like in a succinct way, one of the best ways to bring out the best in people is to develop a relationship with
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
right?
And sometimes, yeah, it's just sometimes that's easy to do, and sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle. I think it's harder to
Absolutely.
do when it's going to be a one-time only
Yeah.
uh, training. There are
And you're
things you
limited
can,
in time. Yeah.
yeah. Whereas some like we're involved in now, that's taking 18
18
months to
months. Well,
do.
because of COVID, it's going to go on for years at
Yeah,
this
yeah.
point. But yes, originally it was 18 months.
Yeah, so that's a little bit easier because you do see them more often, of course. But there are ways to do that, one time only, kind of get to know. And I think icebreakers and burning issues would be a couple of really good tools too.
Yeah, I think also, I don't know, we're coming up to just about 5 minutes left. Is there anything else on your list for bringing out the best in others that you would like to remind the group of or tell them a little bit more about?
Um, listening, I think active listening is going to be really important because what they say may not be exactly what they meant. And so if you can listen for the intent, the message itself, and then the intent behind the message, and then be able to translate that into, here's what I heard you say, this is what I think it means, and I'm seeing this application, or I'm seeing, have you thought about this, that, or the, so trying to make some type of connection to what that person has just said. Let them know you are working hard to understand, because I'll follow that up with, did I understand you correctly? Because sometimes I misunderstand, and then we kind of go back and forth until we get that.
I agree. I mean, I think that to your point, one of the things you and I've talked a lot about is connecting the dots. That's your job as a facilitator. People have thoughts, they have ideas, they're trying to form things in their minds. They're trying to make those connections as well. Go ahead.
Well, oh, no, I was just thinking there's some people that may be reluctant to share a particular idea or concern. So being patient enough to, this is what I heard you say.
Yes.
Did I understand that? That, again, you're working on that relationship. You're building the trust you need to have them become that active, engaged participant.
And I think that serves as a great example for others in the room as they watch you build that relationship, as they watch you actively listen, they see you bringing out the best. And especially if you've got difficult people, there's always somebody in the room. When people come to training, they know who the troublemakers are in the room. You might not know, but the people coming into training, they'll see that coworker and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm stuck with this person. And you will quickly understand who that person is. They always make themselves known. And so taking that extra bit of care and approaching that person with a lot of positive, loving energy, and not being judgmental. Like, oh, hey, this is just who they are. I mean, we don't know everything about them, right? So as other people watch you manage the most difficult person in the room, as they watch you build a relationship with that person, and it's not always easy. A lot of people are prickly pears, as I like to say. It can take a while to break through into that sweetness. And sometimes if it's only a 2-hour training and you'll never see these people again, the best thing you can do is just get through it.
Yeah.
Be pleasant, be professional.
Fake it till you make it.
That's right. Just accept that they're going to be ornery. And yeah. And back to your original point about bringing out the best in yourself. Yeah.
So when you are so challenged by an individual, this is only going to be a one-time training. I'll never see these people again. I've got to be me. I've got to be authentic. Remember last week when we talked about authenticity, this is not to use that as a crutch to get away with a lot of
no,
behavior,
not at all.
but this, you know what? I put heart and soul into this. I'm delivering this to the best of my ability. I'm trying to use all the tools in my toolkit to help make those connections between content and application. Lead a horse to water.
That's right. And I'm going to, if you want to keep talking for a moment, I'm going to stop sharing our screen for a second so I can, or, let me just remind people what we're talking about in a couple, next week. Do you want to say anything about our next conversation?
Well, I'll be having a therapy session between now and then. Feedback's hard for me. I mean, there could be 50 people in the room and all it takes is one person to say, something not so positive. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'll say, nobody liked what I did. So that's a whole other Oprah or Dr. Phil.
Excellent.
But it's about giving and receiving constructive feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, that's a process that occurs, during the training itself. We have to know how to do that with participants. But it's also, we need to be proactive in saying, because some evaluations are given by the institution that's hired you, and they could be very, data driven, check here, circle that, 1 to 5 kind of thing. I just want to know what worked well and what I could do differently. So I might have them do my own evaluation, and I'll bring a sample of that for next week.
Oh, great. Okay.
This plus delta, because it's anonymous. It's the only way I let them out of the room.
The only way
Okay.
to get your certificate is turn
Yeah.
in the evaluation.
Tell me 3 things that worked, 3 things that I could do differently. And I have gotten the best information out of a simple tool like that
I agree.
versus the more complicated scale, this, that, the other. So
Yeah, right. On a scale of 1 to 5, well, what does 2, 3, and 4 mean?
it's
I don't know.
terrible. See, that's the thing. If I don't get a 5 or a 4,
Right.
I go
Right.
into hibernation.
People.
I
All right.
know.
So coming over to Zoom then, I mean Zoom, coming over to Facebook, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to tell. And of course, you know what? I can't tell a thing. So, if you're making comments out there, we appreciate it. I'm still learning. And Kay Jung, if you're watching, this is terribly disappointing that I don't know how to see if anybody's posting anything.
Well, or maybe if we can't see what's being posted, we'll respond after the episode.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll just we'll look and see what the comments have been, and then we can respond after that. I like that a lot. All right. So I think as far as we're concerned, our half hour is up. It's always lovely to chat with my friend Ann. And actually, you're the host, so I'll shut up and let you take
No,
over
it's okay. You're
the
supposed to
duties.
wrap it up. You're supposed to
Oh,
say,
good.
I have on my sheet right here, Mary Barbara, thanks folks for viewing and visiting, and invite folks back on, you have to fill in that blank, the date and the time, for
Oh,
a
yes,
lively conversation about
that's
giving
right.
and receiving.
Okay, very good. So
This
I'm
hurts
doing
me.
my
You don't read
duties.
my email all the way to the end.
No, I did. I did. I just didn't print it out. And so I'm just going off memory, which I've already told you I have memory issues. So that's
Okay.
disastrous
You
for
get
all
a
of us.
pass.
Thank you, Mommy. Anyway, so yes, thank you to everybody for joining us today. And even if you didn't get to join us live, for watching our video later and giving us, as we've said, give us feedback. What's working? What could we do differently? What would you like to see? Also, if you have questions for us on any topic about training, whether it's writing the training, whether it's delivering the training, any medium into, Ann and I have both done in-person training. We've done over this kind of training, worked with people on Zoom and what have you. So our expertise and skill set is vast and varied, I would say. So we're open to questions. We're looking forward to developing our relationship with all of you, and pass the word along. Let your friends know that every Thursday, 12:30 to 1, my husband's going to be right out there cutting the grass, so you can listen to him do that while Ann and I talk about the fascinating
Mhm.
subject of the world of training. Next week, Thursday, what can I say about next Thursday? July 2nd. That's what I
There you
can tell
go.
you.
That's
Next
what I was
Thursday, July
waiting.
2nd, 12:30, we're going to talk about being open to giving and receiving feedback. I will be in a different setting. I think at that time I will actually be in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'll be sitting in a different place. I don't know
Have
where
you
I'll
been run
be.
out of town?
No, my adorable 9-year-old niece is coming to stay with me for Camp
Oh,
Brisbee 2020 for 3 days. So I'm driving her home on Thursday. We're driving back up to
oh,
Cleveland on Thursday. So I'll be, like I said, a different location, but equally exciting and friendly, and happy to be meeting with my friend Ann. So,
all right.
all
Well,
right.
thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Stay in touch. Have your people call my people.
That's right. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Bye, Ann.
Bye.